Holy shit, Joe Biden dropped out of the race. Crazy. Bro really hit the surrender button, which is understandable given how rough he's had it for the last little bit.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
Which made me think of a fun little video idea. What deck would each presidential candidate use? This is not a political channel, never will be. I just think this will be funny.
But you know what? They want to negotiate. And Sleepy Joe.
All right, so starting off, Trumper, Donald Trump, the Trumpmeister, or whatever you want to call that guy. Presidential candidate, was president before. What deck would he use? So what do we know about Trump? Trump speaks very simply, and he's also got a lot of money. He's also a very polarizing figure. The people who like him really like him. People who don't really don't. A lot of money, simple, polarizing. Okay, and what deck fulfills that area? I think he would play Utopia FTK. And this deck is really something. The deck essentially works by getting a Numeron Dragon out on your first turn and using its effect to gain 13,000 attack. This is because Numeron Dragon gains 1,000 attack for each rank of Xyz monsters on the field, and if you have a rank 12 Xyz monster plus the 1 rank, it equals 13,000 attack, which is a lot of attack. Then immediately when your opponent's turn starts, activate the spell card Mystic Walk. What this card does is it gives you life points equal to the attack of one monster on the field. If you choose attack of the Numeron Dragon, you gain that many life points. Congratulations, you've just gained 13,000 life points. But here's where it gets tricky. Using your rank 12 Xyz, which is also on the field, you summon out a Manipulator of Souls. And once Manipulator of Souls is on the field, it's game over. Essentially, what Manipulator of Souls does is whenever you gain life points, your opponent will lose that equal amount of life points. And since you've gained 13,000 life points, it's an instant kill for your opponent. You can stop it with like a single imperm, but still, it's really annoying to play against. I figured this would be a deck that Trump would use because you end up with a shit ton of life points, and Trump is rich. You know, it's like, you know, it's life points, it's money, you know. Yeah. Also, it's a very polarizing strategy. You know, a lot of people hate FTKs. Also, it's very simple. It doesn't take that many cards to get it done. And Trump speaks very simply. So yeah, that is what I think Donald Trump would use. Another YouTuber, Rozalex, did a like celebrity Yu-Gi-Oh tournament where he would use AI to like make celebrities duel each other.
Now sit back and watch a real pro at work as I activate Melody of Awakening Dragon.
Which is super cool. And in that one, he used Blue Eyes, which, you know, I think also kind of tracks because, you know, rich guy, kind of like Kaiba, using like a Blue Eyes deck and everything like that. But for some reason, I feel like this FTK deck suits Trump more. It's much more simple. It doesn't require all that. Though, I would definitely recommend checking out that channel and that video because he is a fucking legend. Next candidate on the list is Joe Biden, who is now technically no longer in the race, but he was in the race, so I'm including him in this list. So what do we know about Joe?
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret.
He's old. He's also a bit confused. And when thinking about this, I was like, I feel like Joe would just use a really old deck. And my immediate thought was saying something like Dark Magician, right? A deck that Yugi used. It's really ancient, and you know, the people that still play it these days, no offense, but I think it's time to move on. But if you go back and look at Joe Biden when he was younger, he actually used to be pretty good at like speaking.
Catholic community is unified in their position among themselves, and secondly,
loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans.
We've tended to be very tolerant of people who legitimately and honestly have a different point of view.
Again, no politics here, but mans could speak. Man could deliver a speech. And because of that, I'm like, okay, Joe Biden would probably play a deck that's old, but doesn't work anymore. I think Joe Biden would play Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy of the End. The reason I say this is because Chaos Emperor Dragon is one of the strongest cards that have ever existed in Yu-Gi-Oh.
The card would still be overpowered even in modern Yu-Gi-Oh 20 years after its release.
The card would destroy every card on the field and in both players' hands and inflict 300 damage to the opponent for each card sent. And that is fucking busted. Even in 2024, that is busted. As expected, this card absolutely dominated the meta in 2004 when it was released. Since 2004 though, Konami changed Chaos Emperor Dragon's effect so that you can't use any other card effects on the same turn that you use Chaos Emperor Dragon's nuke effect. Nukes, don't presidents have access to that? Yeah, I'm thinking this is a good choice. You can't use any other cards or effects the turn you use its nuke effect, which essentially makes this card useless in the current meta, and no one plays it for that reason. I think Joe Biden would still play the Chaos Emperor Dragon without realizing that the effect has changed and be super confused when nothing works. It was a super sharp deck at one point and now it's nigh unplayable. It's really sad what age does to you, man. Next up we have Chase Oliver. I'm not leaving the independent candidates out. We have more than 2 presidential candidates, guys. The 2-party system sucks. And the first of the independent candidates that I just learned about today would be Chase Oliver. He is the Libertarian presidential candidate. And I could not tell you what the Libertarian Party really stands for. Not political, but I did spend some time researching on Oliver Chase, and from what I can see he's kind of positioning himself as like the no nonsense, common sense kind of candidate.
Now see loud and clear that there is a real need for some change in the Democratic Party.
You know, people are like, I wish I had a president who could like speak eloquently and didn't like insult people. That's kind of the person he's like positioning himself to be. You know, I can complete sentences. I'm a respectable individual. Isn't that what the presidency should be? That's kind of his whole thing. Though he does seem a bit old-fashioned in some ways. I feel like this guy would play Elemental Hero. The Elemental Hero deck feels very like clean cut. It's supposed to feel like a superhero, someone to come and save the day from like the not so great things in the world. He kind of positions himself like that, and he does have some traditional values, which I think kind of aligns with the fact that it is kind of an older archetype at this point, but it still kind of feels like a youthful deck because it is updated. And this guy is under 40, so he's a young candidate and everything like that. Yeah, I feel like this guy would play hero decks. That's my assessment of this. Next up, we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is an independent running by himself. I can't lie, I cannot understand a word that he says.
They signed the treaty. The one thing that Putin wanted was that we didn't put NATO in Ukraine. He didn't want to conquer.
But with a name like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you got the association with like the old presidents, the old Kennedys. So he's got that going for him. I tried to listen to his speech, and I can't lie, I couldn't really understand anything that he was saying.
It used to be when you and I were growing up, Mom stayed at home.
I am sorry, his voice is gravelly to the point where I just don't know what's going on. No shade on the man. I just don't know what he's saying. But according to the comments, he's spitting. He's saying some good stuff. I was thinking, what's a deck that's like spitting, but like no one knows what's going on, even the people who play him? And then I thought, DDD. I feel like Robert F. Kennedy plays a DDD deck, which is commonly thought to be a deck that no one really understands how to play. Also, the DDD archetype is associated with historical figures and things that happened in history. And this guy's name is Kennedy, so he's got an association with like history in America. And you know, DDD also has like scrolls and stuff, and I think the Declaration of Independence, and that's kind of what I get from this guy. All right, next up we have Jill Stein, the candidate for the Green Party. And I don't really know much about the Green Party. From what I understand, the Green Party is kind of like save the planet. I feel like a lot of hippies are like very Green Party-esque. I don't know. But from getting acquainted with Jill Stein just a little bit, I found two things. She is old, just like Joe Biden. Second, she also ran for president in 2016, so she's been trying to run for president for a while. And she gives me very much Blue Eyes White Dragon decks. I mean a modern Blue Eyes deck. And why do I say that? Blue Eyes decks have been around for a long time. It is an old deck. And I feel like when you think about the lore of Blue Eyes, how it's a valiant light attribute dragon who's trying to do, I don't know, dragon stuff, it kind of just, I don't know, it kind of just fits her, I think. Also, Blue Eyes did win a championship back in 2016, and although Jill did not win the presidency in 2016, I just thought it was a very interesting coincidence. Next up, we have Randall Terry, who is part of the Constitution Party, which is a party that I had not heard of until right now. This guy is odd. He also seems to be pretty conservative, and his entire platform seems to be based around destroying his enemies.
Destroy the Democrat Party.
I don't know, this man gives me Dogmatica vibes. I feel like Dogmatica, their entire like crusade, pun intended, is to like destroy the extra deck and just like stop your opponent from being able to use it. And since this guy wants to destroy his enemies and stuff like that, and he seems very like rule bound and conservative in how he views things, that just gives me very like Dogmatica vibes, at least for the lore. Playstyle wise, I have no idea. I feel like playstyle wise, he wouldn't even have an archetype. It would just be like a random stack of cards based on like 3 cards that he really likes, and that's just like, and he calls like a 60 card deck, just a pile. It's not even like built correctly. It's literally just like he picked 60 cards and like plays with them. I don't know. That's Randall Terry. And for the final candidate, we have Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West, to be precise. And this guy is another interesting candidate. He's kind of got like the Einstein hair going on. Got an interesting look to him.
I was ambitious. All of these folk who were ambitious really were people who had a profound vocation.
Though he looks kind of out there, he actually was a professor at Princeton and Harvard, apparently. So he's got a pedigree, he's got credentials. He also takes like this kind of like freedom fighter approach to the presidency and such. And honestly, I had no idea what deck this guy would play. He maybe I just don't know enough Yu-Gi-Oh decks. You know, I've only been playing for 7 months or so. Just by looking at him, the only deck that I could think of would probably be Ninja, because Ninja is a deck that is very inconspicuous in that like it has it seems like it's a weak deck that can't do too much, and then like you play a match against them and it's like, oh, you did that much with 2 cards? Crazy. Just kind of like how this guy is like, he looks like kind of out there, but you know, you look at his pedigree and it's like, oh damn, okay, you've been places and said things and people believe in it. Cool. But yeah, those are all the major notable candidates. Damn, the election is only 4 months away. That's crazy. Maybe new candidates will pop up. We don't know who's gonna replace Daddy Joe yet. We'll probably find out sometime after this video is uploaded. But yeah, this is just like a silly, goofy video. I really don't care about like politics like that, so please don't be mad at me. I just like my card game. Subscribe and stuff, pretty please. All right, bye bye.